Hey, my name is Harry DURAN, host of Podcast Junkies, host of the Vertical Farming Podcast, and founder of Fullcast, our full-service done-for-you podcast production agency. It's been a while since I recorded a trailer for this podcast, which started way back in 2014, and since then, it's completely changed my life. I've had conversations with over 320 fascinating podcasters from all around the world. And what we do is we share a little bit of their insights into how they started the show. But more importantly for me, the shows are very conversational. And it's really a way for them to kick back their heels, relax, and let me in on their world. Literally what's happening behind the microphone. I was inspired as someone who studied a little bit of acting in New York City way back in the late 90s by the show Inside the Actor Studio with James Lipton. And in that show, I would remember seeing him spending time with an actor I had just previously seen on screen, but now I get to see him relaxed, or him or her relaxed with James. James is asking these wonderful questions. It's an hour-long format, and I remember that show distinctly because it was a way for me to get to know them on a more personal level. And that's the experience I want my listener to have with this show, and you as well, listening or watching this at this moment. So it's been a fascinating world for me, this world of podcasting. Each episode, what we do is we get them to talk a little bit about what's happening in their personal life as the show starts. This is something that we walk clients through when we start new shows for them. We really want to have that beginning part of the interview be an icebreaker. What's happening with them in their world currently? Where do they live? What do they have for breakfast? Something lighthearted, and what you want to do is just warm up that conversation. Inevitably, after doing this for over 9 years, closing in on 10 as I record this, which is going to be a great milestone, I've really seen that building that rapport with your guests in the beginning is super important. The other key really for me, and with tools like Squadcast, which make this really, really easy when we're doing our remote recording, is you pin the guest's video. So what you're doing is you're focusing your energy and watching them intently, not in a creepy way. You don't have to be staring at the camera for this, but your energy is focused on them. Your picture is now minimized. Zoom does this as well if you're using Zoom. And now you can focus all your attention on your guest. And what I've found over the years of, again, hundreds of conversations, that this is really a great flow for me to engage with them on a one-on-one level. And what I've noticed recently as we start to promote these with these TikTok-style vertical videos, I've noticed instances where the guest is speaking and I'm distracted. I'm looking at my second monitor. I'm looking down at my desktop. And that's something that I want to get better at. And I encourage you as a podcast host to work on that as well, to make sure that time you spend with your guest on a one-on-one perspective is really the most valuable time. I have this mantra, which is treat your guests like gold. And that's the experience I want listeners to have and viewers to have every time I have someone and I invite someone on Podcast Junkies. So it's been going strong. Podcastjunkies.com is the URL. If you haven't subscribed already, I would highly recommend and encourage you to do so. You're going to have a wonderful time listening to these inspiring conversations. It's something that's really changed my life for the better, because what happened is, as a result of everything I did in that first year with Podcast Junkies, I then founded Fullcast, our full-service done-for-you podcast agency. Because in the beginning, I was doing the editing, I was doing the recording, I was doing the social media. Some of you may even remember that I printed out these fantastic bright yellow t-shirts, and I would take them to podcast conferences like Podcast Movement and Podfest and hand them out. And I would say, do you want the free one or do you want the paid one? And of course, people would ask for the free one. And I would say, all you need to do is subscribe to my show on the spot. I'd make them pull out their phone and subscribe to the show on the spot. So all this to say, it's been a wonderfully inspiring journey for me as a result of everything I've learned with Podcast Junkies and the work we do with our agency. I then started my second show, Vertical Farming Podcast. To be honest, podcasting has opened up so many doors for me. I wouldn't be recording this here were it not for my show. So it's an inspiration to you as a listener to be inspired if you're just getting started with your show, if you're going through a bit of a lull with your show and you want to be inspired by all the different things that people are podcasting about. It's been crazy to even think about the topics that have been covered on this show and the doors that it's opened for me. I've had conversations with some amazing folks at Amazon, at Google. I had a great couple of conversations with Andrew, the founder of Groupon, who is now the founder of Descript, which is the service that I'm using to record this trailer. So how everything comes back full circle, it's been amazing to me, and meeting all the people in the podcasting space has been a real joy for me. So that's really what I want to communicate, and what really the energy that I want to transmit to you as the viewer and as the listener of this show. So tune in to podcastjunkies.com, subscribe anywhere you listen or enjoy your favorite podcasts. And as always, as you're listening, I'd love it if you leave a rating and a review at ratethispodcast.com/podcastjunkies. And I'd love to read those out. I'll read those out on a future episode, and nothing pleases me more to do that. As a child of the 80s, I got a lot of joy by hearing the DJ read out my request. Harry from Yonkers would love to hear Duran Duran. And so you can have that same experience with your listeners as well. And that's something that I want to do with my listeners. Pull them into the process. I always say in a podcast conversation, there's three people: the host, the guest, and the listener. And the viewer, maybe. But it's a singular person. It's you. It's you watching this right now. I have this connection with you, and it's a one-to-one connection. It's that same connection as I grab these earbuds. It's the same connection that people have with you. They're listening, they're putting their earbuds in, and they're developing that relationship with you. So make it a conversation and be inspired by the conversations we're having on this show with my listeners. I'm showing no signs of slowing down. It's one of my favorite times when I look at the calendar and I see that there's a Podcast Junkies conversation on the docket. It really lights up my day. So thank you for watching this. Subscribe and podcastjunkies.com, and tell your friends about this as well. Thank you.